service, like standing right here, I have 2 bars of service. So in order to really speak to you about what I'm doing here with the sprouts, I am just standing here for a moment to make sure that I have enough service. And that little artwork there that I'm showing, that's for Master J. Master J, you are correct. That's an art piece of Medusa, the snake-haired goddess who is screaming as she was decapitated by whatever invading infiltrations that happened here on Earth. So yes, Master J, you are correct. That is one of my early pieces of art. Now we have Ezzy on the call with us, and you can see a lovely portrait of Ezzy up there that Lauren took from the retreat. And I have some of my products on the table. Okay, so we're just gonna stand from here and look at the products. So the first thing that you see is the tincture that is brown. So it's that first one by the chair. And that is the olive leaf tincture. So it doesn't have any colorings or any additives to it. It is pure olive leaf in 80 proof vodka, which is 40% alcohol. But the olive leaf was super concentrated, meaning that it was packed all the way to the roof of the jar, and then I strained it. So when you receive the olive leaf tincture, and those orders I'll start taking on the 18th, it's very potent, folks. This is not like, something that you get from some cheap company. This is like serious stuff, so that you just take a teaspoon a day. And if you don't like the taste of it, put it in tea or juice or whatever. You take a teaspoon a day, and that helps to relieve the mucoid plaque. The mucoid plaque is something that's building up almost like fiber optics. I have to tell you, this has all been designed so that you need to exercise a lot, take your anti-inflammatory products, and also clean up the plaques in your bloodstream, in your brain. So Sandy and I both have been taking this. Sandy's my neighbor, and she'll be coming over here in about 45 minutes. Sandy had the olive tree. So you want to do that daily. Whereas the black walnut, which I have all bottled up in the little tincture bottles, is very deep and dark. The black walnut with artemisia, and also neem, because it is a fungal situation also. So the fungal part of it is addressed by the neem, the artemisia, which is wormwood, and black walnut, and also cloves helps to get rid of the synthetic parasites. So what I understand is they've been spraying us with a type of xenobot that is made of frog skin and electrodes, some kind of wetware. So just be aware that that's what's been in the fogs and been in the sky. And there is someone who is diagnosed that here in Florida. So if you have like that weird cough, like a little bit scratchy in the throat, or you've had like bloating, or you've headachy, that's an indication that you have some parasites on you. They're worse during the full moon, and the full moon really affects us. So it's like 5 days before the full moon and 5 days after is when I take the black walnut, and I do like a teaspoonful first thing in the morning, and then no food in your stomach, and you might feel nauseous. All right, so you might want to start with 1/8 of a teaspoon, depending on how bad your parasite load is. Then, 2 hours later, I actually take something called gastrofiber, which is just psyllium husk with fenugreek to like settle my stomach. And then sometime during the day, I will take between the meals, like in a cup of tea, the olive leaf tincture. So that's how I do it. The other thing I want to show you, because Neil from Scotland was asking me, the second thing that is stacked in 2 right there is my toothpaste. And that toothpaste is obviously brown because it's made with bentonite clay, coconut oil, and cloves, because the biggest parasite activity is usually in your gums, because you're breathing what they're spraying, right? So you have a lot of that wetware in your gums. So the cloves in the toothpaste is very important. And you can look up a recipe. You get, food grade essential oil of clove and enough bentonite clay and enough coconut oil to make it, gooey. You can put it on your toothbrush. That's what I brush my teeth with. Now, the third thing is white. The third jar is white, and that one is a infusion with oil of a very common plant, but I use the root of pokeweed, okay? No, nothing can go to Europe. Do not ask me about Europe or Canada or Australia, because customs will just dump this stuff out. You need to learn how to do this, okay? And if you're not in a climate that grows olive leaf, you have to order olive leaf from somewhere in Europe. All right, now let's get back to the white product, which is an infusion of poke root. And it's a topical, because if you take too much poke, it can be cumulative effect in your bloodstream. And if you have liver problems, you don't want to do poke. But poke and the balm of poke is what can go on your skin topically. So if you're having okay, we have the mucoid plaques, we have the parasites, but what that causes is edema and inflammation in the body. And then if the edema and inflammation gets obscene, you will start having Morgellons disease, which means that you'll have open wounds coming through your skin. And those open wounds are the Morgellon parasite trying to take over your body, basically. But the white stuff is poke root salve. And I applied that also topically to Claude because he had one of those killer bee things sting him, and his whole lymphatic system. Those are all engineered bioweapons, okay, those killer bees. So he got stung by one of those, and so I had to apply that right in his armpit, okay, which is your lymphatic system, because he was swelling really bad. It also is good for mastitis. So if you have mastitis, which I had with my first child, you take that poke and you rub it on your breasts, and it will help ease kind of the coagulation of the infection in your breasts. So that's a lymphatic cleanser. The fourth thing that you see there is my orange peel. Orange peel. Okay, yeah, poor dog, poor Ezzy. She's got to sleep because she took a big walk. I'm reading the comments there. So the orange peel is how I get my vitamin C. So the safest form of vitamin C right now is from organic oranges, lemons. That's a marmalade. And I showed you pictures of how I did that. I just put the old-fashioned Sandy's grandmother's oranges in a pot and boiled them for about 1 minute with salt water. And then I took them apart. Claude and I chopped them into skinny little slivers. And that is marmalade, which is my source of vitamin C. But that also takes out the bots, all right? So high vitamin C. Now, the next thing that I have there, which you can hardly see, the last one is Beauty Berry Balm, and it's sitting on a Florida wild medicinal Beauty Berry Balm description. Now, that one we used a lot during the retreat because one woman said she was bit by a mosquito that caused a staphylococcus infection, and that is the GMO mosquitoes. They are carrying weapons, bacterial weapons in them. So the Beauty Berry Balm not only repels those type of insects, but the Beauty Berry Balm actually has a really powerful anti-staphylococcus, all those bacteria that can't be killed by an antibiotic. Well, beauty berry balm does that, plus it gets rid of your zits, eczema, psoriasis, all of which I think are part of like fungal and parasitic infection. Now what I want to show you is the seeds which I sprouted. So I got some seeds from Sensei, and they're hemp that is the original genetics from Siberia. So that picture is in the community post this morning of the Sensei seeds, original genetics of the original hemp plant from Siberia. And that you have to put them in a wet napkin. You put them in a wet napkin inside of a plastic bag. And I had them sitting near the wood stove for about a week. And then they sprout because the hemp shell is quite hard. So I'm doing that same thing with like my chasteberry tree seeds are in plastic by the wood stove right now, because some of the hard shell stuff needs to be like near heat and water. It doesn't really need sunshine as much as it needs heat and water to get them started. And then I have some pots back there, and I will put them, because the little seed sprout has germinated, and you'll see like a little white, tail coming out of the brown seed head. And that's when you put it just barely below the soil, kind of on its side, so it can figure out which way to put its seeds. So what I want you to do is get going on this, because one of the things that I realize is because the wireless body area network is down and Aurora has taken down like the transhumanism stuff, everyone thinks like everything's just going to be great in paradise now. No, like if God arrives, folks, God can only fix like certain things, like our fairy godmother, waves her magic wand and does major psychic battles. But you have to be the arms and legs of this movement. You have to deal with the fact that just because that has happened doesn't mean there aren't tons of poisonous food products out there and bizarre parasites being sprayed on us. You have to deal with that. And every one of us needs to do that. I put up a video that Aurora did about the Shekinah, and like the Shekinah was being used satanically. So here's the thing. You have to fix that. You have to go out and start growing food and put your assets in a matriarchal setting, like I explained that I have at my house, where the house and the assets are in my name. And Claude, who is beloved, and Ezzy, who is beloved, are absolutely, taken care of and loved tremendously as spirit, as divinity, by a woman that is a matriarch, and that's me. So you have to do this. You can't just be like, oh, the theory is that if land ownership was handed down to the female, then we wouldn't have 60% of the human population living with men that they hate, that they would like to kill. Okay, and that is the case. I'm telling you straight up with my clients that 60% of the women are living in a slavery situation, and they only exist like that because they have no other resources to take care of themselves. So it's not like, some magic wand can be waved and you can suddenly, fix, this by doing nothing. You must take action. It's your willpower. And anyone who thinks that just because I'm doing it, it's fixed, that's another Disneyland presentation, folks. Because one person knows how to make her own toothpaste and her own tincture does not mean everything is fixed. You have to do it and stop plowing the land and start growing some herbs. So that is your job. That is your job. Like, no fairy godmother is going to come to your house and grow the herbs for you. You have to do it. And even though I am willing to ship some of these tinctures within the United States, it's not my problem to figure out where you can get them in Europe. And that has been the mind control program here, is using my energy to fix your life is not acceptable. So you have to do it. You have to be the screaming Medusa. You need to take care of your life. Let's see, the other thing is the war through infiltration. So on my Facebook page right now, you will see something that is being proposed in Madison and Brooke County, Georgia. So in the area that I live between Brooke County, Georgia and Madison, Florida, they are proposing a training of the troops, which is actually a war by infiltration where they will have ISIS Ra-El beings who are specially trained and weaponized, fully assimilated cyborgs with our own military, okay? And once they get on the ground in your location, then they can do a takeover from within. So you have to pay attention to signs. There are literally signs in Madison with votes from county commissioners right now of whether you are going to have bombs going off in your background with cyborg soldiers in your backyard. You need to take care of that. We are the arms and legs of divinity. So as a planetary protector, you need to take care of that. So let's look at it again. When I'm going to put these into the pots, the seed head has to be sprouted and the pot needs to be warm and watered enough so that the soil feels somewhat moist, okay? And then after a good bit of time, you will see a green sprout emerge and start to reach for the sun. When they start to reach for the sun, that's when you need to move these items directly to the sunlight and make sure that they're getting a lot of sunlight. And this should be a priority in your home. I don't care if you have acreage, you have pots and organic potting soil available, and you can order from Sensei Seeds, also original genetics, and I plan to juice these hemps as part of my smoothie routine to make sure that I have the endocannabinoid system functioning in my body, which has taken away a lot of my pain. So the pain signals were intense from glyphosate exposure, but now the pain signals are gone, so my body is actually able to rejuvenate itself. My body can regrow new tissues because the endocannabinoid system is what allows you to relax and then finally rejuvenate. So that hemp leaf, I will be putting in a smoothie every single day. You can juice them, you can freeze them. You can hear all about that in Aurora's video of how to do that. So to ruderalis is the Siberian seed. It only takes 10 weeks. Okay, so you want to get some of those original genetic seeds that are much faster growing and providing something to you quite quickly. Okay, so I think I'm going to name this video Mythic Plants, and I hope that you are all getting excited for spring and making your own tinctures, growing your own herbs, and enjoying your life, having a magical experience, because a lot of help has been given, but now you need to do the work. You do. And get out of the Disney World program of some fairy godmother did it and everything's perfect now. And also get out of, the Messiah program of the Messiah is still coming and then it will all be fixed. No, you have to fix it. Okay, sweeties. So that's my Mythic Plant video. Bye-bye for now.